Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another special installment of Alpha Discussions, where we tell you guys what we've been working on discussions, as well as bring on some special guests to talk about some of the things that have been happening on EOS. As you know, the content being posted on discussion is mostly EOS content at the moment. So yeah, today we have me, Jack, and my teammate Brian. And say hi real quick. Yep, there goes Brian. And we also have Jimmy from Uplift Nation, as well as our special guest today, Chitty from EOS Argentina. So if you guys want to say hi really quickly.
Good to be back, Jack, and nice to meet Chitty.
Hi guys, yeah, it's really good to be here. It's my first time, but I really like the app. It's great to be here, and we have some great topics to speak about today.
Oh, thank you. We've been working very hard to make the application a little bit more user-friendly, and it is nice to hear people giving us those positive feedbacks. So it's been a long week. We got quite a few stories. So the big one is that Block.One is going to start voting in May. And since we have a standby block producer, so we're going to have a great discussion about that. But first, Chitty, tell us about yourself and what EOS Argentina is doing, and what's this latest project you just launched?
Yes, well, my name is Jesus Chitty. I am one of the co-founders of EOS Argentina. I see Min is also in the chat room. He's also a co-founder, and Milen is part of the team. So we've been working lately. We've been doing a lot of coding, smart contract coding. There's some things that we still have not released, but we'll be releasing soon. But what we started to do, and we launched on testnet last week, is the evoDEX. evoDEX is basically a very decentralized, I would say a truly decentralized mixture of Bancor and Uniswap protocol on EOS.io. So basically, anyone who wants to, who has a token, or who wants to trade a specific trading pair, they can add that trading pair. They can register it and add liquidity to the pools. That's the main feature, but it's not the only one, because people who actually provide liquidity to the pools, they can actually collect on fees. So that's why we say it is fully decentralized. Of course, we made this code open source as well, so anyone can launch it and can try it out. It's actually live on Killing on the account evoDEX. We publish a command line tool so that any developer who wants to interact with it or try it out can do it, or even if they want to incorporate it to their own code, to their own exchange, so they can also do that. And there's also a nice little feature, because it is actually a mixture of two smart contracts. You have the Bancor smart contract, right, but you also have another smart contract to set the fees. And what this provides is like a governance system for each pair. Let's say in the future, not so far away, maybe it happens, that Voice will be launched on EOS mainnet. So you want to create the pair EOS Voice. You're the first one to do that, but other ones will follow and add liquidity, and you and everyone else will benefit from this. So what happens is there's a token that gets created.
That's a lot to take in, so maybe let's digest that a little bit first.
just interrupt me and ask any questions, because it's actually not easy to understand at first.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time writing the press release for this, so just interrupt me and ask away.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, we're just here to have a chat. I think it's because DEX is always one of those really cool, interesting topics, and we recently got our token list on X Nation, which is like the Bancor portal that they release with EOS Nation released with Bancor. So it's just really cool, for us to see that you guys are doing a DEX that takes into elements of these things. But before we even get to that, I know I would just do my last minute research on EOS Argentina. I'm sorry to say. I think you guys communicate with the Spanish community a lot, maybe not so much with the English community, but going through your page, you guys have been doing a lot on EOS, and I see that you are actually a Steam witness.
Yes, I was a Steam witness. Mini was a BitShares witness. Matthias, who's also in the team, he was also a BitShares winner, and he worked for Block.One for a while.
Oh, really?
He understands
What did he do on Block.One? What was his role?
He was a contractor developer. So he was part of the team that actually, he was one of the first. He was building the plugins and actually building EOS.io. So we knew each other from the DPoS community. So that's why we say that we are a community-driven block producer, because we knew each other from going to the meetups, going to the crypto meetups, being witnesses on other chains. So that is something that I really like about our team. I'm really proud of it. I can say we're truly very, very crypto, and we've been in crypto for a long time.
Yeah, you guys are DPoS OGs then. BitShares and then Steam.
Yeah, we followed Dan in all his projects. So it was only logical when EOS came out, or before it came out, to get a team together and to become a block producer. We're actually one of the founding block producers when the chain launched. Yes, we I think the highest we ever, we were like 11 at one point. But we are independent block producers, so of course it's very hard to compete against exchanges, and I think maybe we'll touch this when we talk about Block.One coming in and voting as well. Because you have these two kind of block producers on EOS, and I think there is value in both of them. But then you have independent block producers, and then you have like exchanges basically that that are quite big.
So again, just to catch you up, so Matthias actually worked on Block.One before. That's really cool. And like you said, so what Chitty was referring to was that I think we're just beginning this week, Block.One put out a press release saying they would start voting in May. So obviously that's a huge deal. Block.One still holds about 9% of the tokens on EOS. So their vote is going to be very, very impactful. And, Brendan Blumer has come out repeatedly in support for exchange BP, so like Binance and Bitfinex. So the question now is that how will Block.One vote? Because they did not only have one vote, they have 30 votes. And what Chitty was referring to, is hard competing with this exchange BPs because they're voting with all their users' tokens with their permission a bit. That's the caveat, I guess. But yeah, how do you see this situation playing out? Since you already have someone that worked for Block.One before, so he should have some good idea how things are working there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about governance because he left Block.One before. Block.One at first, their idea was not to vote, not to take part in any governance. We try not to play that card. We send them an email to the email that said, if you want to our support, and we basically outline everything that we've done. I think it remains to be seen how this is going to play out. I'm not sure if they're going to vote with one account with the whole, I think they have 97 million, or if they're going to split it up in different accounts so they can reach more block producers. Because for some independent BPs, it's going to be make it or break it if you make it into that list. Because of course, if you don't make it, your votes are going to get, the percentage-wise, you're going to get you're gonna get diminished on percentage. So it's really important, especially for independent producers, to get on that list. We're not sure how it's going to play out. We send them all the code that we've been doing. It's all open source, so it's on our GitHub, and this is basically our contribution to the ecosystem, right? We make code and we make it open source so that but it's really going to be interesting. It is a lot. 97 million is a lot, but you also have a lot of exchanges that have around 45 million, 40 million, 50 million. So I think it might balance things out a little bit, and I think that's good. And I know the guys from EOS New York are now in Block.One. You have Kevin and Rick, and I'm sure they're going to be doing like a very good research, and I'm sure they are doing a very good research, and they really know the BPs. They know which BPs are actually contributing to the ecosystem, which ones are reliable, which ones are not. So
So I want to jump in. Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I think you bring up a really interesting point, Chitty. Like when the community hears that Block.One's going to be voting, there's people that are happy about it, and there's people that are a little bit panicked or freaked out about it, right? But I think for the most part, people just assume that they're just going to, throw all of their votes behind, one section of their voting, right? But if you look at like what Binance has done, like Binance has a few different, voting proxies that they use, right? So I think you bring up a really good point. It's not necessarily that they're only going to use those tokens to make one, impact. They could divide it up and have various they could divide it up and have various block producers that they are voting for, depending upon what their, outreach needs to be, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I was a bit hesitant when Binance started voting because obviously they kind of wanted to exchange, but they actually had a pretty even-handed vote. So again, I think Block.One's gonna do the right thing and they're gonna vote properly. But I guess at the moment, I guess the second question is how many exchange BPs do we need? And with BPs like EOS Argentina, obviously you guys contribute to the ecosystem as well, but it's just not in that category, which of exchange BPs. They bring in the liquidity, you guys bring in technical development and research. So it's just very, very important that Block.One thinks to do who they're voting for and listens to the community, which hopefully they will. Like Chitty mentioned that EOS Nation EOS New York joined the Block.One team. So EOS New York folded BP, I think 2 weeks ago. And then, just a bit after they came out to say they're gonna start voting. So EOS New York's gonna be guiding that voting process. But what do you guys think? For you, Shady, you guys know the BP talent pool, the EOS talent pool. It looks like Block.One is still starting to pry talent away and at least tap talent from the EOS community. And I guess they did that in the past with Matthias, which went on to work for them a bit. Do you have any kind of guesses on who might be the next person that BP taps? B1 taps for the company?
Yeah, that's really hard to know. There is also another topic that we were going to talk about, and Herbert also from EOS Israel is also joining Block.One, and I think it's cool to see that because what happened, we have to remember what happened and what got us to this point. It is mainly the BPs with the bear market and with exchanges coming in. And don't get me wrong, I like exchanges. I think they bring a lot of value. It is important to have big players in EOS because one of the biggest blockchains in the world. But of course, it makes independent BPs like EOS Argentina actually have to, work triple or 5 times as much to be able to be even a standby BP. So there were a lot of independent BPs that suffered. There were a lot of BPs that they were good BPs. They had a lot of community, and they fell off the paid position, or they were struggling with the bills. So I think it's good that I love it that they stayed in the ecosystem somehow. And I know how hard it is for independent BPs if you don't have a lot of tokens to vote or to trade, vote, or whatever. It's actually quite complicated. So I'm actually excited. I'm happy to see those guys and to stay in this community because, like I said at the beginning, we're here for the community. We are community-driven BPs. We've been to all the all the events. Not just Block.One event, but also the Rio Blocks event, and we helped sponsor the event in Rio de Janeiro as well. So we actually fell in love with this community, and we hope everybody stays. But at the end of the day, we know this is a business like any other, or probably harder than any other. So it is hard to be in crypto for a long time, and I think Mini can attest to that because in different chains we've been in crypto since 2013, and that's a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen I can't remember top of my head, but obviously EOS New York, EOS Canada. When EOS New York fell out of a pay position, I knew something was not right. Just because EOS New York again was he leading BP won the chain first launch. There was a lot of controversy. Obviously, if you make any kind of decisions, people are there's gonna be lashback to it. But I didn't think it was enough to kick them out of the community. I think when reward proxies came out, when BP started offering voting rewards, that really changed the dynamic. So do you think obviously Block.One is not gonna need to offer voter incentives or whatever, but do you I don't know, there were calls for changing the voting system to 1 token 1 vote, pushed by Brendan Blumer himself. So I'm just thinking like if you have one token, one vote, and you have exchange BP, so like they're only going to be voting for themselves most likely. So what's your stand on that? Do you think there's some changes necessary to the voting algorithm, or do you think it's good as it is now?
Yeah, I remember the one token, one vote debate, and the thing with these changes is really hard to say what would happen and how they would play out, because this is not pure math. There is people involved and interest involved, and probably most people will vote for themselves if you're a BP. That will make a lot of sense. But I can only imagine that it will probably hurt us because we don't have a lot of tokens, and if
Yeah.
you're a BP, you're probably gonna vote for your own BP, and that is extremely logical. But I don't think that's going to happen now. I think that has been taken off the table, especially because for that to happen, you need a software update. So you need 15 BPs to approve it. And I think some of the top BPs are quite happy with the 30 votes they have, because it gives them room, not just to vote for themselves, but to also strengthen their position in the BP ranking. So I actually don't think that's going to happen anymore. So I'm not worried about it. I was at one point, but I don't see it happening.
So you're happy with the one token dirty vote system, and yeah.
I think it's to change the voting rules in a depot system of a change that is worth over $2 billion. It could be catastrophic.
It's quite a dramatic change.
Yeah, and you can't really try it on testnet, because, like I said, you can try it on jungle on kill it. We know how the code works, but you don't know how the dynamic is going to play out.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
token has a value. It's not the same. So it's just, I've seen other chains that have it. Like I think EOS has it.
Was there any kind
they
of?
had it from the beginning, so it's different.
So you come from a history of DPoS chains. Was there any kind of parallel to anything we could point to from that history where there was a change in the voting algorithm on either BitShares or Steem that kind of had unintended consequences?
The main difference, you always had the groups forming. The politics is we're human beings. It's logical that politics will form out. The main difference, I think, in BitShares and Steem, they were just like single person witnesses, like a single person BP. It's just the scale was much smaller. You knew everybody, you could talk to anyone, and I think it's actually a good thing, that in EOS, everyone, even us, we have to become more professional. We have big companies involved, and it just took it to a whole new level. DPoS is really interesting. I think out of the consensus mechanisms that we have, I think is the best, but it can be improved. It still has a lot of issues, and it's not the system per se, but it's just human beings. Sometimes we like to argue, like to fight. We like to destroy things that don't need destroying. And we've seen that in Steem. We saw it in BitShares. You always have these turbulent times, but I think it's just the nature of human race. It's not the deeper system per se. I think it's more democratic than the proof of work system. That is just like pure money involved. And if we were in a proof of work system, EOS Argentina wouldn't be here, because we don't have big pockets like exchanges, but we're still here.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting from my perspective. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole here, but a lot of times when we, for example, like if we think about capitalism, we think about democracy, and there's a lot of flack that goes, against DPoS, because people always, they say it's not democratic, right? Like it's not decentralized. It's none of this stuff, right? But I think a lot of times people are really confusing the issues. And I think, Chitty, you made some really good points there about it being a good governance system. I mean, if you look at other blockchains that have mining pools and things like that, I mean, yeah, we can say that they're decentralized, but there is really no governance there. It's like a bunch of people in a back room deciding, where the chain goes. And so I think you make like some really good points. And the second thing that I thought that you said that was really good was, we're almost a little bit too far in. Like if you're to change, like EOS as a system is a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. All the block producers, all the various chains, all the projects that are working on it. So if you just kind of like throw a hurdle in there and you change it up at this point, you could have some negative kickback. So I think I kind of agree with you there. Like it seems in general to work. Like every governance system is going to have their issues. Every blockchain system is going to have their issues with centralization. But I like the fact that EOS is continually evolving, right? Like I like the fact that there are other chains that might implement these things, and so I think you make some really valid points, Chitty.
Agree. Speaking of other chains, are you guys just on EOS, or are you guys on other blockchains as well, EOS IO chains as well?
We are on Telos.
Okay.
At some point we were on BOS as well. We still maintain an API there. We are on FIO protocol just launched, and we're going to be a VP there as well. We are still on Mid-One, although that chain hasn't had a lot of traction lately. But yeah, we are on mainly all EOS IO chains that we think are worth being in.
Oh, so you're on EOS and Telos? Just two for now? Or are you looking?
No. We're on Telos, and there's also the FIO protocol. FIO protocol is brand new.
Yes.
So Luke Stokes invited us there, and we're also on Mid-One. So, and we're always looking for opportunities. The thing is, we actually evaluate the chains before joining, because some chains, they take a long time, to actually get traction and, having their coin listed. And, there is a lot of small projects, and, that for us is not economically feasible.
What we say is the most interesting non-mainnet at the moment?
I think it would be the FIO protocol, but it's a different thing. It's not. It's just like a chain for a very specific purpose. For inter-wallet operability. But out of the ones that are similar to EOS mainnet, I would say Telos.
Okay.
Of course, they have the same issues I see on BitShares and Steam. Being a smaller chain, and there's a lot of arguing, and but they've done a lot of code changes, and some of it has actually turned out great for them. I think they recently incorporated IBC as well from BOS. And I think Telos and BOS are quite interesting. But what these chains have is a lot of problems finding exchanges that will list them. And this is, of course, a problem, because if your coin doesn't have any value, then the whole depot system or any blockchain system relies on your coin having a good market value, so you can have chain security.
Do you think EOS should be? Well, I'm saying EOS, but like, do you think the EOS community should be more active in supporting these different side chains? Like, because crypto tribalism is definitely a thing, right? Like Bitcoin people hate Ethereum people hate EOS people, and it just goes down the food chain. But I do feel like EOS is a little bit different in that, it's just, I think these chains were meant to, when the software was launched, the idea was to have as many different chains as possible and make them interoperable. That was the vision I saw when EOS first launched. Do you think that as a BP, I think you're a little bit biased because you are on all these different blockchains, but do you think the EOS community should be a little bit more accepting of these sister chains and kind of show them a little bit more support financially even?
Yeah, I think it is accepting. I think most of the people, I see a lot of people like community-wise. I see them on all the different EOS IO chains. For developers, it's also the same code. So you want all of those chains to do well, and you can test your code out on testnet, but you can also test it on for a fraction of the price on other side chains. So I think I agree that most cryptocurrency fans are very rivalry against each other, but you don't see that as much on EOS, and that's actually a nice thing, I think.
Agree. Okay, maybe let's get back to the main topic that we brought you guys here, which is about evoDEX. So it's still very, very early on the project. So do you, I don't know, like with Bancor jumping into, the liquidity provider, and then new DEX is jumping with their own liquidity pool, and I think EOS is kind of having like a DeFi moment at the moment. Where do you see evoDEX fitting into all this, and what kind of project are you guys looking to collaborate, or you guys like find yourself in a similar position? What's the deal?
Yeah, well, evoDEX is slightly different from them, but of course it's in the same DeFi category.
Mm-hmm.
What we did, we did this project. First, we did it. I'm not quite sure about other projects how open they are. Our project is open source, and our idea is to collaborate with with them, with anyone who wants to integrate evoDEX or evoDEX code. They can just go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly different in some areas, but similar in others. Our focus was to make it really and truly decentralized.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, what we did is that we allowed anyone to add liquidity to the pools, and also anyone can collect on fees. We don't actually, our plan, we don't make profit. There is no dev fees in the Evolution DEX. All of the fees will go to the liquidity providers, and the liquidity providers, they can set the fees that they want. And that's why we built, and I was saying this at the beginning, there is a different smart contract for setting fees amongst different users, because you can, add liquidity to a pool, and then someone else adds liquidity to a pool, and, person A thinks that the fee should be 1%, and person B thinks that the fee should be 2%. So they can vote on the fee they want, and then proportional to the amount of tokens they put in the liquidity pool, they will be voting on what the fee should be. So it's as decentralized as we could make it, in the sense that the fees go to the people that are actually putting the tokens in the pools.
Mm-hmm. So you guys saying, so users are so for the people who are listening who may not be super familiar with subject, so Bancor came out with a system where you could put in some BNT and your token and kind of create like a bootstrap liquidity pool. So anytime anyone has your token, could redeem it for some Bancor. So that I think EOS Argentina is taking that concept and developing with a different smart contract, developing a entire DEX on top of it, where you actually have order books. Is that correct?
No, there is no order book. It is the same as Bancor in the sense that you can create a token pair, and you can sell one token, and you will get the corresponding token in that pair, and the price will automatically adjust, exactly the same as Bancor. But the difference is that people who provide the liquidity, when you provide liquidity, there's a third token that it gets created also with the Bancor algorithm, and that token is the one that because when you add liquidity, you receive that token in return. So that token that you receive in return will also go up and down in value according with the people that are using that pair. Every time someone pays a fee, the fee goes to that token to buy that token. And when you want to retire, you retire your liquidity, you sell those tokens at presumably a higher value, and that is the main difference that that we added to the Uniswap and the Bancor algorithm.
So another question from one of our listeners is that, do you guys intend to support non-EOS tokens? So I think I might know what the listener is asking, and there is a deweb, for example, came out with a token creation system. So deweb is the same guys from Bancor. They're letting people create their own tokens that are not standard EOS tokens. And I guess the question is that, will you guys look to support something like that?
For now, we're just working on EOS.io, and it makes sense for us because we are block producers on EOS.io, and we feel that we own the community, to give them back code and programs and so forth that for EOS.io, because Evolution DEX is not is open source, and we're not collecting fees, so it's not actually it's not like a business product that we are building apart. And because of that, it wouldn't make sense for us to support maybe Ethereum tokens or other sort of tokens.
Oh, I see.
So for now, we are, actually the code is finished, but we're just testing it now on the Killing network, because when you're dealing with exchanges, DEX, Bancor, etc., you want to make sure that there is no backdoor, there's no bugs, there's nothing wrong with it. And we've been going on with the test for almost a week now, or probably a week today. Today's Sunday. And we'll probably be launching evoDEX on mainnet with a very simple graphic user interface, because we understand that most people, it's easy to understand when you actually use it, because the code behind it is actually quite complex. But the main idea behind the evolution DEX is that anyone can create the pair and collect the fees. So that will be like, you can be your own exchange, in the sense that you can just, if you have a token, or if you like a token, you can just create the pair, create the liquidity pool, and then promote it so others use it, benefit from it, and so on. So I think that is the main difference, because just being able to allow anybody to create their own trading pair.
Yeah, I am very excited to be able to test it. I think it is cool that the DeFi space is booming on EOS. I was a bit skeptical at first, to be honest, because I always thought Ethereum is more suited for this kind of applications. But after seeing the whole debacle with MakerDAO and what happened there, I think there's room for experiment. I think using a DPoS model where resources are much more well maintained, I think we're gonna be able to see some interesting applications. That said, do you guys planning on supporting maybe even user transactions? That'd be cool. That'll make that experience even more seamless.
Do you mean supporting user transactions? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, like paying for people when they want to do a trade or swap.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. We have a different project coming out that will, it will go a long way on supporting and making everything cheaper on EOS.io. But, I can't really say that right now. But when we launch it, I will send it to you, and I think you're going to be impressed with that one as well.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So just one thing on my end, something that I kind of thought was interesting, and when I was going through the stuff on evoDEX, I thought it was, DeFi for a lot of people, I think, is really a complicated thing to understand. Like when you're coming from like traditional mainstreams or stuff, you don't engage with liquidity and things like that as much as we do in the crypto space. So one of the things that I just wanted to kind of clarify and ask about is with evoDEX, it seems like when you sell the token, there is no fee. That was the first thing I'd like to get a little bit of elaboration on. And the second thing was, it seems like you guys have come up with a really interesting way of tracking the volatility of tokens, and the fee increase or decrease in value when it comes to token volatility. So, I mean, assuming that when you're calculating token volatility and price fluctuations, you're looking beyond the evoDEX, I'm just wondering how you guys kind of put all that together, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understood the question. We made evoDEX as flexible as possible, like with all the features, so that anybody who wants to create their own pair or their own DEX, basically a DEX will be several pairs, trading pairs. So mainly what we did, it can have 0 fees, or it can have the fees that the people who provide the liquidity decide. And that is the feature that evoDEX has that we hadn't seen in the past. I am sure that after we launched it, and because we promote people to use our code, that there will be a lot of DEX or a lot of Bancor or Uniswap's products that will use this feature. But mainly, what we do, and I know the part you mean about the volatility, is that we allow people to, if they see there is a lot of volatility in a specific trading pair, there is a different smart contract, like a governance smart contract for the liquidity providers, so that they can all submit a transaction to the smart contract and collectively decide on changing that fee. And the fee that will be final will be the average between all of the people that provide the liquidity in proportion to the amount of liquidity that they provided. It is all quite hard to understand just by reading it or saying it, and that's why we want to finish a very simple graphic user interface. So the best way to see it in action is to actually use it. We actually, we have a mathematician with a PhD that created most of this code. So it is actually not easy to actually read the code or to just understand it at first. But I think once we launch it on EOS mainnet, people and even token owners as well, because it is built for, it is very targeted to people who have their own token on EOS.io, but they are struggling with the with the other books. If you go to DEX or NewDEX, it's very hard to get listed, or if you do get listed, then you don't have buy orders. So it's really hard. So it is also targeted for them. You can just go to evoDEX, link your token with some EOS, and then it will just spin it, and then you could even profit from it with the fees, or you could not profit from it and just make it free. So it's very flexible. It has a lot of modules, so that the people who decide actually the users, and that's what we wanted to get across with evoDEX. This is really free for everybody to use and to make it whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I quite like that side of it, because I think, a lot of people don't realize that, when you're looking at setting up, these pairings, that there is the potential that, you could lose a lot of money if you choose the wrong one, right? So I really like that voting structure that you guys seem to have kind of put in place, where the people that are providing, the pairings or providing the liquidity are actually able to have a say in the fee when the when the engine is kind of working. So yeah, it's really cool, Chitty.
Yeah, and again, once you guys release the mobile interface, the interface for the exchanges, definitely let us know. I'm gonna be the first one to try it. So it is the time. So we have to sign off now. So yeah, where can people find you, Chitty, and what should they be looking forward towards from you guys?
Yeah, well, the best way to reach us is on our Telegram channel. And it's EOS Argentina Telegram group channel, or you can find me at Chitty in Telegram as well. And I think I hope people like the user interface that we're coming up with, and we have a few more products that actually use the EOS.io code in a very interesting way. So there is going to be some more news from EOS Argentina in the coming months. So I hope people like it and use it.
Cool. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank again Chitty for coming on. Thank Brian for listening in, and Jimmy for his rescue to my disastrous session. So it's good that if you guys don't know what happened, since it's going to be an audio clip, there was some monkey business that were happening.
There's going to be some
okay. You're a pro editor. You'll fix it.
Oh god, it's just extra editing work. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Go join them in Telegram. We'll keep covering the evolution DEX news on Discussions, so you can always check back to see if there's any updates. With that, thank you guys again, and I will chat with you guys next week.
Thank you guys. Had a lot of fun.
All right, bye everybody.